Welcome to the Self-Care 101 podcast with your host, straight-talking life coach, Puja McClymont. This show provides simple self-development, supporting you to embody your self-worth so that you can live the happier, more fulfilled life that you deserve without burning out. Thank you so much for listening today. Hello, it's season 2, episode 28. Did you know that you can build resilience? It's not actually something that you're born with. So when you think you're not able to build resilience, I'm afraid to say you are missing out on an opportunity for growth that is totally within your reach. However, like learning any new skill, you have to be willing to do the work to build resilience. It's not easy, but it's also not hard. It's different. Now, change requires you to be flexible and open to acquiring different skills in order for you to grow and be the person that you want to be. So in this episode, I'm going to talk about some of the strategies that are going to help you on your road to resilience, and also some excellent tips that you can cultivate to build more resilience in yourself. You'll be able to apply these learnings to any area of your life. If you love the Self-Care 101 podcast, please can you head over to Apple Podcasts, subscribe and leave me a review. This really helps others find the show and I'm eternally grateful for your support. Now on to the show. Now, I've previously done a show on building resilience, but that show very much just touched the surface. Look, I would love to say to you that once you've got a goal, once you start planning, once you start strategizing, once you start aligning your actions towards your goals and you stay focused and disciplined and consistent, that everything's going to turn out fine. But the truth is, you need resilience because life has a funny way of derailing you. And when it does, it is so important to know how to bounce back, how to be compassionate if you need to wallow in some of your pain. That's okay. But being resilient keeps you bouncing back towards what you are trying to achieve. So I really hope that this show delves deep enough for you to be able to cultivate some really strong strategies that are going to keep you successful towards the goals that you want for your life. I'm using bits of science in here because I do believe that we need some psychological backup in what we're saying here so that this is a really well-rounded show. And yeah, I really hope you enjoy it. I've enjoyed putting it together. So let's get into it. Now, the American Psychological Association, they define resilience as the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or significant sources of stress, such as family and relationship problems, serious health problems, or workplace and financial stressors. So in other words, bouncing back from difficult experiences. Now, resilience is not a trait that people either have or do not have. It involves behaviors, thoughts, and actions that can be learned and developed in anyone. So research has actually shown that resilience is ordinary, it's not extraordinary, and that people commonly demonstrate resilience every single day. Now, a good example of this is the pandemic. Truthfully, it's the pandemic. It's a great example of resilience. You've made it through, or you're making it through. But being resilient doesn't mean that a person doesn't experience hardships or adversities. In fact, what it actually means is that a huge amount of emotional distress is common in people who've dealt with difficulties and trauma in their lives. Now, there are lots of factors that contribute to resilience, but studies have shown that the primary factor is having supportive relationships within and outside of the family. I talk about your community, the people that you spend your time with, a lot on various different topics. And it just shows that your resilience is also determined by the supportive relationships that we have. Relationships that are caring, loving, and offer encouragement and reassurance, they help cultivate a person's resilience. Now, there are several additional factors that are associated with resilience. The capacity to make realistic plans and actionable steps to carry them out. So this is really important with goal setting. A positive self-view and confidence in your strengths and abilities. Again, confidence. You need confidence in order to be able to make your goals happen. Belief in yourself. Communication and problem-solving skills. this is key in resilience, obviously, because if you look at the world or if you look at problems as solutions, so there are no problems, there are only solutions, you're going to look for more opportunities in life and keep everything moving in a forward motion. And the capacity to manage and regulate strong feelings and impulses. So when you react or you're defensive, when you build resilience, you have less chance of reacting in a way that doesn't suit you. There are 3 strategies that are really good for building resilience, and all of us can do this. So when it comes to developing resilience, the strategies are going to vary between person to person. They are, because we all react differently to traumatic and stressful life events. So an approach that works well for one person may not work well for another. So I'm going to give you a couple of different ones, and then obviously just choose the ones that make the most sense to you in your life. So one of the strategies is learning from your past. So if you take a look at your past experiences and your sources of personal strength, you can see that there is some insight as to which kind of resilience building strategies are going to work for you. I've got some guiding questions from the American Psychological Association that you can ask yourself about how you might have reacted to challenging situations in the past. And what you need to do is explore the answers to these questions so that you can help develop future strategies. So you're essentially using past experiences to remind yourself of how resilient you are, what you did to bounce back, and then apply it to your life today or the goals that you're working on. So one of the questions is, what types of events have been most stressful for me? Second question, how have those events typically affected me? Have I found it helpful to think of important people in my life when I am distressed? To whom have I reached out for support in working through a traumatic or stressful experience? What have I learned about myself and my interactions with others during difficult times? Has it been helpful for me to assist someone else going through a similar experience? Have I been able to overcome obstacles, and if so, how? What has helped me, or what has helped make me feel more hopeful about the future? Now, the second strategy is about staying flexible. A resilient mindset is a flexible mindset. So the types, you might do it yourself. You have an idea of something and there's only one way to do it. And if you don't succeed in that way, you've decided that you're a failure or the thing that you're working on has failed. But actually, being resilient allows you to be more flexible with the outcome. So it may not have gone the way you thought it was going to go, but it still happened. So let me give you an example. Say you run a business and your target for this year was 100,000 in sales, and you wanted to make that 100,000 in sales from a particular product. Let's say it's a candle, but actually you achieved the 100 grand in sales, but not from the candle. You achieved it from your starter kits. I don't know, a very simple example, but what my point is that you've still achieved the 100 grand. You just achieved it through a different product. And being flexible allows you to not think that your candle sales were a failure, but actually that, the market demands something different to what I thought they wanted. And that is what being flexible means in this instance. So let yourself experience strong emotions and realize when you might need to put them aside in order to continue functioning. Another way of staying flexible, step forward and take action to deal with your problems and meet the demands of daily living, but also know when it's time to step back and to rest and to re-energize yourself. Now, if you are on starting up a business journey, this is a really, really crucial point, because when you are going from employee to entrepreneur, the biggest misconception that people people sort of think in this scenario is, oh, I'm going to set my own business up so that I have more time for myself. I have a 4-hour working week, things like that. But actually, in order to get to that point, you've got to put in the 80 to 100 hours a week. You don't have to, but depending on your time frame and how quickly you want your success and what that success looks like, you've got to have allowances for taking a step back, for resting and being able to re-energize yourself, because that is resilience in action. You need that if you want to achieve your goals. Another point to remember is to spend time with loved ones, people who offer support and encouragement. You have to nurture yourself. You cannot neglect and be in this narrow tunnel of, I've got to succeed, I've got to succeed. And the last point in this, in staying flexible, is to rely on others, but also know when to rely on yourself. Okay, so it's very easy to think, oh, I have to do and be everything. But actually, delegation is very, very crucial when you're working towards building an ideal future and changing the way you live your life. The third strategy is mental stamina. Now, this is a single defining trait that enables us to endure the adversities of life. It really is. It's essential for withstanding both long-term challenges or unforeseen and unexpected struggles which do come along. And it's only developed by practice and repetition. Unfortunately, you have to have awful experiences in order to build that mental stamina to be able to bounce back whenever traumas happen to you. So mental stamina requires planning, it requires strength, perseverance, and concentration. When we talk about stamina, we usually reference people like athletes and sports teams because they use both physical and mental stamina because it's crucial for that type of performance. But everyone can benefit from increasing their mental stamina, not just athletes. So although no one builds mental stamina overnight, I've got some tips here that can help you actually build it over time. And again, this is it falls within resilience, being flexible, not thinking, oh, I just have to do this exercise and then I'll have mental stamina. No, you've got to actually put the practice in. It's with anything in coaching, it's very much about practice, repetition, discipline, consistency. So one of the points is to think positively. Ironic as a coach, right? Now, self-confidence and the belief in your ability to perform and to make decisions is one of the most important characteristics of a healthy mind. So if you can train yourself to think optimistically and find the positive in every situation, that's what's going to help you build mental stamina over time. Second point, another very coaching friendly point, use visualization. It's an excellent tool for managing stress. It helps you in overwhelming situations and it helps with performance anxiety. If you close your eyes right now and imagined a time that you succeeded in a similar situation, it can really have a massive effect on how you deal with a situation in your life. So this could include remembering the feelings that accompanied the achievement and how it made you, how it made you feel, what was around you, real sensory experience. So if you can use visualization in this way, you reduce the magnitude of a current situation, and then that helps you to bounce back. The third one, most important, and kind of what we're doing right now, is planning for setbacks, because life is never going to go the way we hope or plan. Unfortunately, it's not. We see life in a way that doesn't exist. So then we go about our business and then we see life unfold and things happen that we do not expect. So it's going to be really important to help to recenter yourself and regain focus whenever there is a setback, rather than dwelling on loss, misfortune, and all the negative feelings that can come about, because we can't control external events that happen, but we can control what we do afterwards. And I've said that before, control what you can control. So it's a good idea, if you can, to have a plan in place that's going to help you to deal with things when they don't go according to plan. Another way is managing stress. Manage your stress. It's very easy to talk about stress. You've probably heard it a million times. You probably follow loads of people on Instagram, read lots of blogs that talk about managing stress. But are we managing stress? Because our ability to manage stress is what plays a massive role in our ability to build mental stamina. Now, not all stress is bad. All right. There is positive stress, excitement. Excitement is a positive stress and it can be a motivating factor, but it has the same physical effects on our body. So it's important to look for useful techniques like meditation, progressive muscle relaxation. It's just important that you're in control of your mental state and how you're going to handle the stressor that comes your way when it comes your way. Another point, one of my favorite points actually in this little suite is getting more sleep. Get more sleep. I know you want to build your ideal future. You think you've got to change the way you do things and you've got to align and you've got to plan and strategize and work all the hours. And yes, a lot of that is true. But if you're not going to get enough sleep, your mental and physical functioning is just not going to do very well at all. Sufficient sleep is going to help you with on-the-spot decision making and reaction time. And if you have a good amount of sleep, it is said to be 7 to 9 hours or more. So if you're performing high stress activities, both physically and mentally, you need 7 to 9 hours of good, solid sleep. Look, you can look into sleep more deeply for your own research to understand the benefits of really good sleep. But essentially, you're regulating hormones, and those hormones are going to help you to be productive. They're going to help you to be creative. They're going to help you to be in flow. They're going to help you to know when you are genuinely tired, when you genuinely need rest. And then you can take that rest, reset, and come back to the plan at hand. So how can you build and improve resilience? Now, your level of mental resilience isn't something that is decided when you're born, because it can be improved. And you can improve it over the course of your life. The more experiences that you encounter, the more traumas you go through. I mean, we've all gone through a pandemic, and how each of us has bounced back is testament to our level of resilience. And it's a real test. Like, the pandemic is a massive, massive test for each and every one of us on our ability for resilience, because, we've all been affected in different ways. The obvious being in the pandemic and experiencing that, but then the knock-on effect. So your work, your home, where you live, who you're with, if you're alone, if you're not seeing your family, losing loved one. There's been a lot in the last 2 years. So it's really important to look at what you've actually managed to really bounce back from in the last couple of years, and what has been keeping you going this whole time, and what has got you to this point where you are interested in creating your ideal future, because all of that knowledge, mate, is going to really be invaluable in the next stage of your life. I promise you that. So here are a couple of resilience enhancing strategies that you can try. So skill acquisition is the first one. Now, if you are looking to build your ideal future and you need to change a lot of things, maybe it's buying a new house, maybe it's moving country, maybe it's a career change, whatever it is, starting a new business. If you can acquire skills, they're going to be able to play a massive part in building resilience, because they help you to develop a sense of mastery and competency. So say you go from employee to entrepreneur. One of the things that you're going to struggle with is your self-esteem, your self-belief. Can I do this? Will I be able to do this? So if you can sort of do skills work to develop mastery in that area of self-belief and self-esteem, you're going to be able to problem solve a lot more easily and be able to manage challenges more, I guess, non-emotionally, so not so detached, rather than feeling like, oh, it's because I can't do it. You're really building yourself up for it. So you can look at different types of skills that are going to help you, because it's going to be different for different individuals. Yourself, where you could do with some improvement. So it might be cognitive skills like memory or selective attention work. It might be things that help with your everyday functioning. Other people might benefit from learning new hobbies or activities. You know, there's lots of different ways of acquiring new skills. You might want to cultivate your networking skills, your socializing skills, because it's important to get the right support, right? So you might need to change your communities and the people that you spend your time with. And that's really good because you're almost doing on the job training. When you're with these people, you can see how they're bouncing back, how they're reacting to situations, the sorts of words that they use. And then that helps you to build those skills within yourself. The second point is goal setting. Now, obviously, I'm going to talk about goal setting, right? Because if you can develop goals, actionable steps so that you can achieve the goals and execute them, all of that is going to help develop willpower and essentially mental resilience. Now, your goals can obviously be large or small. We've talked about that before. It can be your physical health, emotional well-being, your career, finance, spirituality, anything you want the goal to be. But in order to achieve goals, you do need skill acquisition, because if you have that, you are going to have this double benefit because you're going to learn something that's going to help you grow personally. That's going to make you feel good. That then becomes another notch of, wow, at the age of 42, I was able to retrain. At the age of 35, I was able to change the course of my career because I went on this course, because I learned this new language. I was able to move to another country. Again, building resilience, really important. And then the third one in this set of tips is controlled exposure. Now, I've never spoken about controlled exposure before, but it is something that can be really helpful, especially for those who are looking to do more sort of anxiety-provoking situations, okay? So controlled exposure basically means it's a gradual exposure to anxiety-provoking situations, and that's what helps people overcome their fears. So it's basically facing situations head on. So it could be something like public speaking, for instance. If it's something you want to do or you like the idea of, but the thought of standing in front of lots of people, a small group, a big group, whatever, is sort of really daunting and anxiety inducing, facing the fear slowly is what's actually going to help you build more resilience. And then when you are in those situations, and even though you're fully competent, you know you've got the skills, you know you've got the facts, you know you've got the experience to talk, but what happens is the anxiety that comes through will be that, in inverted commas, normal level of anxiety, which is, you know, the butterflies, you're about to do something. But because you've had that controlled exposure, you already know what it's going to potentially feel like. You know how you're going to handle it, where you're going to put your hands, when you're going to take a sip of water, managing your breath and all those things. And that, again, by doing it progressively, in this controlled exposure way, you're building resilience, you're building that skill to be able to bounce back from the adversity of the activity that feels really anxiety provoking. Now, I've got 11 further strategies from the American Psychology Association because these are so good that I didn't want to leave them out. And I've been very cautious of the time on this podcast because this particular episode could have gone on. And I know that I've spoken a little bit fast in this one. And probably the last episode as well. It's because when I'm talking about things that I really believe in, I get very hyperactive, I think is probably the best way of saying it. And I start speaking really quickly. But also I want you to get this information within half an hour so that you can keep coming back to the show more easily. If I make it too long, it's just, it's exhausting. How long can you hear my voice for anyway? All right. So these last 11 strategies. 1, make connections. Make connections. Resilience can be strengthened through our connection to family, friends, and community. So make healthy relationships. People who care about you, they're going to listen to your problems. They're going to offer you support during difficult times, and they're going to help you reclaim hope. All right. And likewise, assisting other people in their time of need also benefits you greatly. All right. And it helps you to Sansa helps you to own your own sense of resilience. Second point is to avoid seeing crises as problems, like problems that you can't handle, because you can't change external events, right? Pandemic. But we can control our reaction to the events. So you've got to accept that in life there's always going to be challenges. But what's important is to look beyond whatever stressful situation that you're faced with and remember that things are going to change. You know, people say this, that it will get better. Time heals. Take notice of the subtle ways in which you start feeling better as you deal with difficult situations, because they do get better. Essentially, time heals everything, right? But you do get better at dealing with situations. Third point is to accept that change is a part of living. Now, I've said that 100 times, so I don't need to labor this point, I don't think. But the only constant thing in life is change. That's it. And as a result of difficult circumstances, some of your goals may no longer be realistic. They may not be attainable. But by accepting what you cannot change, it's going to allow you to focus on the things that you do have control over. And that's what's really important. We very easily go into glass half empty thinking, but actually go the other way. Go the other way and focus on the things that you do have control over. Number 4 is to move towards your goals. Obviously, make sure that you develop long-term, big picture goals and make sure that they're realistic, right? Because if you can create small actionable steps to make your goals achievable, that's going to help you to regularly work towards the goals, and you then create small wins along the way. And that way you are always doing something toward the goal. So the goal could be massive. Like I have a big goal of moving country, buying a massive villa, hosting retreats there, hosting my clients there, my family moving in with me. It's a big goal from where I am today. But everything I do, every single day that I get up and I work in my business, it's leading towards Spain. And whenever I can, I drop Spain into conversation. And if you've been listening to the podcast, you've heard me talk about Spain quite a few times. So it's an important one. Number 5, take decisive actions. Take decisive action. So instead of shying away from problems and stresses, wishing that they just go away, take decisive action whenever possible. So decisive action is really considering the situation and responding in a fair way to the situation, and also, most importantly, to yourself. Number 6, look for opportunities for self-discovery. Personal growth, this is all about personal growth. And sometimes tragedies, they can really result in lots of learning and growth for yourself. Living through a difficult situation, that kind of experience like we've just gone through with the pandemic, it can increase your self-confidence and sense of self-worth. It can strengthen relationships. It can teach us loads about ourselves. But you've got to obviously consider this as one of the strategies in order to build resilience. But you've got to look for these opportunities of self-discovery. This right now, actually, yes, let me just throw that in. Listening to this podcast and the way I've created the next few shows until the end of the year are specifically designed to get you moving and ready for January so that you're not a victim to the new year, that you are in a state of thinking and opening up your mind to, what do I want? Where do I want to live? Where do I want to work? How much money do I want to earn? Who do I want to be with? You're just starting to open up your mind to those possibilities and thinking really, really big. 7th point is to nurture a positive view of yourself. So work on developing confidence in yourself, because that is going to be massive in helping you prevent difficulties and building resilience. Because if you have a positive view of yourself, you'll be able to trust your own instincts when it comes to problem solving. Number 8, keep things in perspective. Big one. It's a big one. And probably a lot of my coaching work with clients comes down to perspective. So when a client comes to me and we'll be talking about a situation, it's really important that I hear from their point of view so that I can understand the way they see the world. And then I'll offer a different perspective. And it's not a different perspective in order for them to change the way they think, but just for them to consider the different perspective. All they need to do is consider it. And if the consideration sits well, then they can look to adopting it. If it doesn't sit well, then it doesn't sit well. We try a different technique. But when times get tough, things can always be worse. So it's best not to blow things out of proportion. And when you're cultivating resilience in this way, it's going to help you to keep a long-term perspective whenever you're facing difficult or painful events. So a question that's often used in resilience work is, will this matter in 5 years' time? Number 9 is to maintain a hopeful outlook. Yes, optimists at the ready. Because when we focus on what's negative about a situation, we're going to remain in a fearful state, right? In the fear state. And then we're less likely to find a solution. So if you can try to maintain a hopeful, optimistic outlook and expect a positive outcome instead of a negative one, that's going to be a real game changer for you. And this is where visualization can be a really helpful technique. Number 10, take care of yourself. Yeah, in order to build resilience, take care of yourself. Self-care is an essential strategy for building resilience because it helps you to keep your mind and your body healthy enough to deal with the difficult situations as they arrive. The less you take care of yourself, the less you're able to bounce back. It's just true, because you don't know how to look after your needs first. If you're somebody who's always giving to other people, when something goes wrong, you catastrophize on the situation rather than look at the situation in context. And that's really important. So if you can put your needs first, taking care of yourself through what your feelings are, engaging in activities that are going to make you happy and relax, regular physical exercise, those are all really good ways, just basic self-care, but they're really good ways if you're doing it every day to help you build more resilience. And then the final point in building resilience, number 11, is just the things that you can do every day quite simply. Journaling, practicing gratitude, meditation, other spiritual practices, all of that can help you restore hope and strengthen your resolve. Now, if you find yourself struggling with building resilience, please book a free 1-hour coaching conversation with me at my website now. I have some exciting news. In June next year, I am hosting a retreat in Marrakesh. Now, it is a 6-night retreat and the theme is clarity, rest and rejuvenation. And in this retreat, we're going to do some deep connection to self-work using a number of spiritual tools, with each activity contributing to helping you uncover your deepest desires and fears that we'll then use to help you live your best life. You're going to be staying at the beautiful Peacock Pavilions under the Atlas Mountains. We'll have the venue all to ourselves. You're going to enjoy an outdoor cinema experience, a mindfulness experience at the Majorelle Gardens, a massage on property, a gentle hike with beautiful shopping in the Atlas Mountains, daily meditations, physical practices, delicious foods, and a final night of Moroccan indulgence. Think fire breathers and belly dancers. Come along. You'll find all the information at the link in the episode description. Now, there are only 10 places in total, so if this sounds like just what you need in your life, then email me today to hold your place with a deposit. You will not need to pay anything else until the new year. Thank you for listening to the Self-Care 101 podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate and review over on Apple Podcasts so that other people like you can find the show. For more information about the work I do, head over to my website, PujaMcClymont.com. And for daily inspiration, please connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram at Puja McClymont. Sending love and talk to you soon.